to your mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eat teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Bo, Sheila, and Zach kicking it cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Bo, Sheila, and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping their wings on
Birds with Friends.
All I know is Zach said he has a game where he'll don't read both 7,000 words, and I said I'm in. Let's go. Let's do it.
And so the purpose of
that's what I needed was not to get at least one more reader. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends on a Thursday afternoon. Bo Wolf, Zach Berman, Marissa Morris from the Athletic Football Show. We have Sheila Kapadia and a very, very special guest topping them all. The man who Larry Karras described as probably the smartest football player he's ever coached. Ladies and gentlemen, Princeton wide receivers coach, Brian Flinn. Coach, how are you?
Here. Fantastic. Again, Coach Karras, in 6 years, 4 as a player and 2 as a coach, he never said that to my face. But it's good. It's good to hear. Still good to hear.
And Sheila, how are you?
All right, let's get right to it. So, Coach Flynn, of course, has the Ciriani connection. Mike Ciriani.
I do.
Yeah.
It's like it's a couple.
Was that a question?
Steps away from Nick. Yeah, this is tough. Is this how we do it? I forget. I've been on a long time.
We've got plenty
Nick's
to get to on this episode. We're going to do a superb owl forecasting later on. We're going to talk Carson Wentz in a little bit. And if you are in the chat, make sure you drop in your super forecasting suggestions. We'll get to all that good stuff. But yeah, let's dive in with Coach Flynn. And I guess why don't you give us the background on the Ciriani connection?
So Nick's oldest brother, Mike, was my teammate. He was a senior when I was a freshman at Mount Union, and he was my position coach my last 2 years. So I don't know Nick really well, but I know Mike. I've known Mike for 25 years. Great coach at Washington Jefferson. But I've known the family. The middle brother is my age, played football at Mount Union. And Nick is, I know Nick about as well as you would know one of your buddies' super youngest brother, which is not great. But I know him as a player and I know the family.
So, as well as I know, who's your youngest brother, Zach?
Nick.
Yeah, there you go.
Interesting.
They're all named Nick.
That's true.
There you go. And now, what is over your right shoulder there, Coach?
This is my Mount Union bobblehead, complete with the 12 NCAA national championship plaques right there.
I do have to say that doing that story, I knew that Mount Union was this storied football program, but I did not have as much of an appreciation as I should have for Coach Karras. It's unbelievable. Although he corrected me because I told him that it was unbelievable that he had won 6 titles in 7 years, and he goes, "Oh, it's very believable." So I like that.
Good line. I like that.
Some big flexes, some big whiffs that he definitely deserves to take.
He doesn't lack any swagger. It was a lot of fun there as a player and as a coach. And it was super, it was the early 90s. So but he was not one of those cement head guys, don't give him water. He was ahead of the curve on that stuff. And even just from the article, you could tell, he really we got to have fun. You got to run your mouth. You get to celebrate touchdowns. He called it earned swagger, which I think is, he has a lot of that himself. But it was, and I just kind of stumbled. A lot of us, Nick's story and Mike's story, how they got there, we just kind of Division III recruiting is a little bit all over the place, but it really worked out great for me.
Well, and he was also ahead of the curve on building a passing offense and going for it on fourth down. I was watching clips of some of the 93 championship game, I think it was, and it's just the middle of the game, 4th and 3 or 4th and 6 in the red zone, and he's just going for it. He scored a touchdown. So I respect that.
And we threw the ball. I mean, in the early 90s, not everybody threw the ball, but here's a good gauge of how good of a player I was. My junior year, my senior year, our quarterback threw 56 touchdowns. Then I graduated. The next year, he threw 63. So removing me got you plus 7 or 8 touchdowns. But again, that's like Joe Burrow numbers, 20 some years ago. So it's a lot of it's air raids similar. Sid Gilman, a lot of the old BYU offense that Andy Reid's background is in, and it's the reason I went there, because they're one of the few teams that were throwing the ball so much.
You hear about a school like Mount Union being almost a cradle of coaches, and it's interesting because we did this exercise of the alma maters of different coaches, and it's not these Power 5 schools. What do you think it is about that level that breeds good coaches?
A little bit of it's the area of the country. It's a huge high school football area. It's also a PE school, so there's a lot of teachers and coaches that come out of there. It's also Division III guys, like you're paying to go to school. There's a lot of guys that have work study jobs. We had one of the work study jobs was doing the laundry, for the team. The guys would go into practice and they'd be responsible for doing laundry that day. So you really got to love it, and I think there's an appreciation for the game there that you don't take anything for granted. So, but for me, it all stems from Coach Karras. The experience that I had there. If you both talked to pretty much anybody who's ever played there in the past 25 years, and they all kind of said the same stuff. Like, he's the guy. I don't love I earned my master's degree or I'm now a football astronaut or PhD or whatever. Like, I don't love that stuff, but there's a lot of truth to being around Coach and watch how he dealt with players and his aggression on fourth down, his aggression at the end of the halves. It's not being afraid to do something completely new. And I think that stuff is really, at least from my teammates, I think that's how those guys ended up in coaching. Like, you're kind of set on a path where it's not you have to make a certain amount of money or coach at a certain size school. It's we really enjoy building something. And again, I think that the whole thing is Coach Karras.
So what was Mike Sirianni's coaching style? Because of course we heard from Nick Ciriani, and he credits Coach Karras, he credits his dad, and obviously I would think Mike Siriani has similar coaching influences. Not to say that they're going to be exactly the same or are same people. I think anyone with siblings knows that's not the case. I know it with my two daughters that they are not similar at all. But what was Mike Sirianni's coaching style from what you remember? What stood out?
Yeah, he was tough. Like, as we didn't get along great as teammates as freshmen and seniors. We weren't like the best of buddies. Like, I would go too hard in a blocking drill or something like that, and he would flip out. And then as my coach, he was on me. Yeah, I'm concerned about the flex count in this. I think it's going to be double digits here pretty soon. But then as a player, like, I was a little bit nuts in terms of, like, if it'd be special teams, I'd be over there having the backup quarterback throw the ball to me. So he knew, like, exactly how hard to push, but not, a lot of stuff that Nick talked about, you got to talk to certain guys certain ways. Like, I think Mike had a really good feel for that. But he was, all of us, I was an assistant for Coach Karras. So when I was in Mike's shoes, like, if you guys weren't getting it done, you were getting hammered by the head coach. So, but he was great. I mean, he's 150 some wins and 30 losses himself with W&J. So he's a guy really. He's the best. My connection with Mike, when I got hired at Villanova as a GA in like 2000, like, one of my stops on the way out east was to work his football camp at W&J. So I've known him forever, and he's the best. He's great. The funniest exchanges I've had since Nick has been hired is him basically breaking his brother's stones, about a quote that was said somewhere, or maybe not the jacket he was wearing on the tour through the facility. I can neither confirm nor deny that, but like you would do.
Can tell there's a healthy ball busting going on. Even in the story, talking about he had a better career. I gotta say, Marissa did a very good job setting up the boxes here, because we know that the relationship between Zach and Coach Flinn is better now, but it's come a long way. But it's still it's important that they are at least diagonally separated and not side by side. So that was smart.
I have a world of respect for Coach Flinn. Yeah,
it's super mutual. I view Z Berm like as. And Shields kind of slide in this category too, almost like as a benevolent hater, like unintentional. Like, Shield has slowly phased me out of the drawing business with Ted Wynn. It's not on purpose, but my bank account's a little lighter. And then, Z-Berm loves his John Carroll shout outs on here. And,
That's true.
but there's no ill will. It's all good.
None at all.
I can't stop admiring this this bed behind. I mean, who is making that bed? Is that a decorative pillow? I mean, talk about a flex. I got, a turkey and an elliptical behind me. You got a beautifully made bed there.
Well, when you have a 900-foot square house, there's only but so many places you can go. Bo's actually been here. Bo picked up tickets here once.
That's right. For a Princeton game.
Pre-pandemic, this bed was never made by me. Pandemic, where my wife is still working the whole time, I've made that bed. So much like Marissa, I'm big on the shams. Kind of brings everything together. keeps it neat.
I like that.
And I know you've been doing a lot of laundry during the pandemic.
Oh.
My sources are telling me we have a little battle in the Capadia household. Are you guys dryer sheet families or no dryer sheet?
Yeah, I've heard this thing like recently, like dryer sheets are bad for you or they cause. To me, if you don't use a dryer sheet, why are you washing your clothes?
I mean, really, who wants all that static, that itch all the time? Who can live like that?
It's the worst. You get a pair of shorts on, you got static electricity. I mean, what are you doing? It's horrendous.
I find that we use the dryer sheets, but I find there's like not much difference if I forget to do it. I don't like the static does not build up.
What kind of Bobo dryer sheets are you using?
I need to use better dryer sheets.
The smell is the difference, right? That's the
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay.
I think
we covered the important stuff there.
I think the smell is the difference. Could be a potential drop moving forward. Coach Flynn, what did you make of the intro press conference for Nick Sirianni?
It was okay.
Fine.
It was a little I think one of the things, if you called me tomorrow and said, "Hey, you're the head coach of the Eagles," one of the things I would like, the number one thing I would do is go into that room and stand at that podium and have somebody shoot me weird questions over Zoom to the point where I was like super comfortable with it. So you could tell he was taking some of his first at bats against live pitching there. I don't think it was bite the kneecaps, Adam Gase, shift the eye roll level crazy. Like it was okay. I think it's as a first job, I don't think there are ones that are much tougher than being the head coach of the Eagles. The fans, media. But again, I don't think the questions you guys asked for, well, Bo didn't ask any.
Yeah.
But I think the questions Zach
I didn't
asked,
ask any either. That would be just Zach, yeah.
I think they were all completely above board. The quarterback questions have to be asked. It was okay. I mean, I don't think if you're good, nobody remembers it. If you struggle, it'll be a huge deal.
From a coaching perspective, that introductory press conference, like every coach obviously wants to become a head coach at some point, right? Like, is that a press conference that's rehearsed in a coach's head? You're in the car one day on a long drive, you're thinking about the first press conference as a head coach,
or like long bike ride, for example,
or that.
One of those. Yes. I just think you get at bats at it. Like the one thing to me, the interview process is that. Like, I don't think like those same questions have to be answered by the GM and the owner, or asked by the GM and the owner, I would think. And as a coach, you're standing up in front of these meeting rooms all the time. You're doing clinics. I think that's really when you do it. Everybody's got their PowerPoint put together and 5 core values and all that good stuff. But really, I think the job is the reps. I think once you get it, again, to me, it's whether it's your agent or the PR people or whatever. It's like, hey, go up there, stand behind that podium, and we're going to ask you 70 questions about who's the starting quarterback next year. I think that's the one thing that I don't think you can really reproduce anywhere else. But you're getting asked that stuff in different ways all the time.
I was hoping you could. I was going to say, in sort of like how the sausage gets made type question. As Sirianni goes about building this staff.
I hate that saying. Can we replace that with something? I mean, really. How the sausage gets made? I mean, all right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. How the tempeh sausage gets made? What is your experience of building staffs? Like how they get made? Like where these connections come from? How all that stuff comes together?
Yeah, there's a ton of what you see right now, which is these all seem like guys he's worked with or that he knows. Right. I mean, at least three quarters of them, or. Mm-hmm. Even the guy he kept was, I think, a former Colts player. So there's some of, even not when he was there, but there's a lot of that. Like the jobs I got, over the years I've been either referred by somebody or knew somebody on staff. Now it's going to be different with the Eagles and at the NFL level, but it's still the same. Like, especially as a first-time coach, I think there's a lot of hiring guys that you're comfortable with that are a little bit good soldiers to an extent. You don't really see the veteran coordinator guy here, like Doug had, that can kind of take it and run with it. But you see guys that, to me, just by judging their relationship and where they were together and how long they were together, are going to be loyal guys to him, that are going to, do what he asks or be on the same page. And you just hope there's enough pushback when that stuff happens.
I've always been curious about like that process. I'm sorry to talk over.
I'm at a press conference here. Exactly. No, go ahead.
This is Shield. This is how I feel every time I see the Ted Wynn drawings on Tuesday. My old ones. At one point, Ted wasn't even following me. I'm like, man, how soon do you forget? Used to be bored.
Go I will defer. You go here.
Well, I was going to follow up on the staff question. No one is trying to put together a terrible staff yet at all levels, and including at the NFL level. You see it can be the downfall or the difference between a coach who has a very good season and a not so good season. And so you have been on different staffs. I'm not asking you to name names here about what the worst staff was you were ever on, but in your experience, what is the difference between, other than just the coaches are good or the coaches are bad, what is the difference between being a good staff and a bad staff?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll just do my least favorite head coaches in inverse order that I've worked for.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was going to wait for 10 minutes to throw that one out there, but we can get to it.
1 through 12. No, I mean, I think a lot of this, to me, this is a cop-out, but it's player-driven. So if your players are really good, it overcomes a lot of that. The margin error in the NFL is a lot smaller, so I don't think you're going to get, maybe if you have Pat Mahomes, and even then, I love what their coaching staff does as a side. But, I think the ability, to me, to have conversations and do new things and disagree and not just have some dogma handed down from on high, like the 2 stone tablets come to, this is the offense. This is what we're running. Here's my defense. This is what we're going to do. Like that, to me, is is set up to be a failure long term. You got one guy telling everybody what you're doing, not taking input. Like those have been the situations where I've struggled, and eventually the team struggles because there's blind spots that those guys don't ever see. There's strengths of the assistants that are never used. There's ideas that die because they never get presented. Like the ones where you can collaborate the most and everybody feels a part of it, everybody feels seen. I've never been around like, oh man, this staff really stinks, we're messing it up. It's been more like, man, we're not communicating. We're tiptoeing around somebody who's we're worried is disagreeable or is going to get angry or is going to just completely eliminate my insight. I think that's when you really struggle. I think so that I think that part of it, like you look at how this staff is built, you think the collaboration would be pretty good.
On the topic of the staffs, because I'm fascinated by this, and you would have more insight than any of us here on this. It's obviously a big part of the job interview process, right? And you often hear during the interviews or after the interviews, if you talk to people behind the scenes, like this guy has some great ideas for his staff. But how do you know you can deliver it? Like, are those conversations that Ciriani has ahead of time, that a prospective coach has ahead of time? Hey, if I take this job, you'll be my defensive coordinator, you'll be my wide receivers coach. And I'm also curious because I know that Jonathan Gannon's name came up from like a few different head coaches during the interview process. So at some point, a few different guys thought they were going to deliver Jonathan Gannon, right? So how does that work?
Yeah, I think I've had a few of those that when the guy got the job, all of a sudden it changed. But I think whenever you're reached out to as an assistant coach, that answer is almost always yes. Mm-hmm. And then like you're never say, oh no, I'm not going with you. Are you nuts? Like that's never. It's always, oh sure, man, yeah, whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And then then when the time comes, he probably said yes to 3 or 4 different guys, and then it was like, all right, fellas, what's the deal? What's the responsibilities? What are you paying? About 10 years ago, The person that called me will remain nameless, but I got a call. I was on a bus going to a playoff game. It was like in December. And like I said, hey, listen, I'm in on a head job. I want to know, are you interested? Absolutely. Well, what do you coach? Do you have Wi-Fi in your office? What do you need? What do I coach? Yeah, I'm like, I'll coach. I can coach anything on offense, coach. Whatever you need me to do. Yeah. Now, surprisingly, this person did not get the job. But I think that there's no doubt, and you always say yes.
And now Urban Meyer is the coach of the Jacksonville
Jaguars.
It was not, but it's some Ohio type stuff going on there, as you would expect.
I would love to just show up for the interview and say, I'm going to land this guy as my offensive coordinator. I'm going to land this guy as my defensive coordinator, and then you get the job, and you're like, I guess that was just my wish list. Like I couldn't deliver them. It's just what I wanted.
And a lot of those lists have like an A and a B.
Okay.
So this is my first guy. This is my second guy. This is my third. I got a feeling like I'm on a bunch of C's. So, those, and it's all good, but those are coming though.
All right. So, Coach, you gave us a couple topics that you wanted to hit on. I wanted to start with who you think the Eagles should take at 6.
Yeah. So, I think shockingly, I think you should take a receiver.
Who's throwing it to him though?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. Do you like a quarterback enough to take him there? I can't answer that. But you have no receivers. Jalen Hurts, I think, you got to give him a shot, see what he can do. I think Carson Wentz is gone. So to me, you take either one of the 2 top guys there, whichever one is available. 2 years ago, I said Chase is the best receiver I've ever seen in college football. He's unbelievable. Wow. This year, I said Devontae Smith is the best receiver I've ever seen in college football. So like those 2 guys, I think you can't go wrong. And I'm sure you'll hear a bunch of negative things about them.
Very skinny, a little bit old.
Right. But that's all nonsense. You watch the guys play like they're wide open. They catch the ball. That's what they need. They need a guy who can line up at X by himself and win. They don't have it.
What are you talking about? They have J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He doesn't need to be open. He's got contested catches on lock.
I saw a Senior Bowl clip. I showed this at my meeting the other day, Flex. A Senior Bowl clip of Chase Claypool running a route in one-on-ones. And I watched this. I showed some of my guys. It was such a good clip. And I'm like, if I would have seen this, I hated Chase Claypool time, but I think it was good enough. Shows what I know. I'm like, but I would have drafted him if I saw this clip at the Senior Bowl. Like he was sinking his hips and changing direction and posting guys up. And so but I digress. But I think you got to take one of those 2 guys because you just don't, you still don't have a guy that can win one-on-ones consistently. And everybody that's, any good does. It's you have to have that. As much man coverage as you get. Again, yes, the receiver coach you take, he's going to say receiver. But I think those 2 guys are legit number 1 guys.
Is this idea that Kyle Pitts can be almost like a tight end wide receiver hybrid? Is that overstated? Like, is he just a dynamic tight end, or could you build an offense around this idea that he can be moved all around?
Yeah, I think he's great. I think he's Kelsey is who I think he is. Now, again, Florida puts him out there in the SEC, against the best corners, and he wins on slants. Now, there's times out there he's not creating much separation, but he's just, bodying guys up and winning. But I think he's Kelsey. I think you move him all over the place. And, he's awesome. That's the one thing. I mean, that's what excites you about the quarterback coach hire is Florida did do a bunch of great stuff on offense. I mean, they incorporated, they spread the field, but they still ran the ball. Like it would be, I think that's a good guy to draw from.
Except for like COVID protocol. I hope he's not drawing his ideas on that front from Dan Mullen.
Yeah, those weren't great.
Sheila, you got something? I don't want.
I'm just trying to get. People are saying I look possessed because my face keeps getting frozen.
Yes.
So I got some Wi-Fi issues with this new technology here. But no, I think you had the list of topics for Coach Flynn. So go ahead.
You said you feel like you can relate to Mr. Deuce Staley.
Yeah. So I think there's been a lot of not hate directed at Deuce, but like, oh, he can't do it. They didn't hire him as a head coach, so he must be doing something wrong. And I've been in Deuce's position. Like I've been passed over. You don't know how much of it, was the interview he got a legit interview? You don't know how he did. Did he get a chance to put a marker in his hand and drop what his offense was going to be? And here's the bottom line. Like, I don't know Deuce. I don't, all his players love him. They say great things about him. Every head coach he's worked for says great things about him. The only guys who think he can't do it are Howie Roseman and Lurie. That doesn't mean he can't do it. I've been in situations where that stuff happens inside of your control. The person making the decision, their mind's made up. You don't even get a shot at it, and that is what it is. But I think it's not necessarily that he's never going to get a shot and he never can do it. It's just these two guys think that, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're right.
I think that's totally fair. And it's like I think we've talked about this before, but just like job interviews in general, like not a good way to find or identify the best candidate. Like it's a totally separate skill set at like almost any job except for like maybe sales. So I think that's fair. What were you going to say, Sho?
Well, it's a good point for not just Deuce Staley and the coaches, but like everything in the organization. I mean, really, they can talk all they want about collaboration and incorporating analytics and scouting and coaching and all these different branches together, and that's the job and that's the philosophy. Well, ultimately, it comes down to really what one person thinks, Jeffrey Lurie. But when you think about it, who is his right-hand man, who he has kept for over 20 years to guide him through all of this. So we'll get to the Carson Wentz trade. Guess who's going to be making that decision? One person or two people. Doug Peterson, when we revisit, who made that decision? One or two people. Nick Sirianni, who made that decision? One or two people. And so I know they like getting this out there that, hey, we had, 47 different people interviewed these candidates and, all this different type of things and collaboration. But we've seen people go in and out of the organization, and who has stayed over the last 2 decades and who has stayed in the biggest positions of power and either moved up, or obviously the owner can't really move up any higher, but those are the two people. So I just think that's right with Deuce Staley, and it's right with everything else we talk about this offseason.
The coaches wanted
the Bieniemy thing blew my mind too. Like you watch the Chiefs offense, you listen, like that Jet Chip Wasp clip of Bieniemy and Mahomes during the Super Bowl last year, or you watch him get interviewed. Like, you didn't want to talk to this guy. Like, it's one of the most fun offenses to watch in football. You listen, this, and I don't know Eric Bieniemy either, but you the things I've seen with him interacting with his players and his coaches, like, you don't want to interview that guy. It's hard for me to understand.
And same thing with Leftwich too, right? Like, has that quarterback background, played in the league. You love that when it came to Peterson. My understanding with Bieniemy was it was a timing thing, that Andy Reid wanted them to wait until after the following game. But nonetheless, there was no impetus for hiring Ciriani when they did, unless there were specific staff questions. But I'm with you there. I don't know how you don't make that interview.
I feel like if Andy Reid thought it was on the up and up, he wouldn't have gone out of his way to say that they didn't actually.
I thought the same thing. That was a jab. I mean, there's no other way you can look at it that, other than that, in my opinion. Andy Reid, who rarely says anything remotely controversial like that, when he's asked about that and says, I mean, he knew what was happening, but he says point blank, they didn't ask to interview him. He's sending a message that, maybe they should have waited to interview him, or maybe this guy deserves a shot. I agree wholeheartedly. Maybe they don't know exactly what they're doing over there. And, I've done pretty well since I've left that place and, whatever. But I thought the same thing. I was like, whoa, Andy. I was like, man, I thought he would, just say, well, they got a good guy there. And I don't know all the details of it, but hoping Bieniemy gets a shot. That is not what he said. He said that they did not, he's the only one who put that out there. I mean, no one else has a way of even knowing that information other than Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, Jeffrey Lurie, and Howie Roseman. So I thought that was very interesting.
Do you have a Carson Wentz take for us, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's that good. And I was this time last year, like the last 4 games, he was killing it, and he's righted the ship. And just just watching, I've seen every snap, every game this year,
Flex,
because I've been in the office, and he watches the rush. He doesn't protect the ball. He has moments of greatness, the touchdown against Boston Scott against the Giants. But there's 10 for every one of those. There's 10 of why is he throwing it there? I just, whether it's the place, whether it was the coaching staff, all that doesn't matter to me. I just don't think he played very well. And can somebody rehab him? Sure. Like you look at Tannehill, or you can go all the way back to like a Rich Gannon, right? Who came back with the Raiders and was great. But that's the exception to me. Like I don't love him. And again, I think to me, if I was I think the two arguments are it's going to cost way too much money to not give it a shot and run him back. Okay, I get it. It's 30 some million or whatever it's going to be. But it just what you can't do to me is you can't say this is our starter. And if you're saying that, you're doing it for trade value or you're doing it to pump up his ego. But what you're not doing is the players in that locker room who saw this guy play that bad, saw Hurts come in. And again, I don't know if Hurts is going to be a franchise quarterback, but he played pretty well. You're not even going to give him a shot at the starting job when he played. I don't think he played way better, but I thought he played better than Carson Wentz. Yeah, I mean, it just I don't see that. And his silence to me is a little bit. You don't know what was said behind the scenes. Maybe he had a great phone conversation with Nick, and he's in a great place mentally. But like you've heard nothing.
Absolutely.
And it all leads to me. It's like here comes a trade. The organization's comments are lukewarm. He's silent. Yeah, I mean all these other. The Goff and Stafford trade to me means there's a market out there for it. So, and I think he's better off. I don't think he's built for the city. Like I saw McNabb take 1,000 times, play way better, and take a lot more heat, and still play well here. I don't think he's built for it. I really don't. I don't think he played great. I hope he plays well somewhere else, but I don't think this is the place for him.
It's so funny because I was thinking about that the other day because the Goff trade, right? And in that lead up to that draft, Howie Roseman after the fact made such a big deal about looking at that like that interview on the Rams website. And he's like, oh, look, this guy is an LA guy. That's who they're going to pick because he's an LA guy. We're going to get Carson because he's North Dakota tough. He's built for Philly. He's this Philly guy. And then like 4 years later, Goff is in Detroit, which is very funny for his personality. And like Carson Wentz has been proven to not be mentally tough enough for the Philly like spotlight. It's very funny that was like the tie-breaking thing, or at least how he said it was, and it has turned out to be exactly incorrect.
It's one of the dumbest. It drives me nuts that you are from California. Every person in California has the same, mental fortitude, and oh my gosh, God forbid they, come to big bad Philly. I mean, I don't know. I thought Cole Hamels did pretty well when he played in Philadelphia. I think we can probably come up with a long list of people who grew up elsewhere. I don't know. Was Nick Foles in Texas that was groomed to play in Philadelphia? It's like with the Pac-12 stuff. We're awake watching this stuff. This guy's from California. This guy's from North Dakota. Like, give me a break. Like, what are you talking about here? I mean, you're like $1 billion, company, and you're making decisions like this. Well, what is going on here?
I think it has a lot less to do with geography and much more to do with personality. And the reality is that with any of these guys, or I shouldn't say with any of them, with most of them, you don't know how they'll handle. I say adversity. That's kind of a buzzword. It's not true adversity, but how do they handle things not going their way in the locker room, on the football field? Because a lot of these guys haven't been exposed to that in college, right? So you can say he's played in cold weather. He's not a glitzy California guy, but that hasn't been his issue here. His issue is his backup quarterback won the Super Bowl. There's been all this pressure on him. Him and his coach, he loses his coaches. How does he deal with locker room? Not everyone kind of bowing to him, so to speak. I think that's something that in the scouting process, you can do all the personality tests you want, but you don't know how someone's going to handle that until they're in that situation.
We have on here Coach Sheila Kapadia of the Athletic Football Show.
Yeah, I'm a huge Mina Kimes fan. I love Mina Kimes. I think her takes are great. Her analytics stuff is great. So I'm a subscriber to her pod, and there was this effervescent personality on an episode or two ago that like it was I didn't recognize at first, and it was Sheila. It was like, hey, how you doing? I'm great. Do you know my birthday's coming up? I'm really excited to be here. How's Lenny been? Like it was like a different guy. Like who is it's like on The Simpsons, like, oh, I like the cut of that guy's jib in Sector 7G. Like, who is this new guy? Oh, it's the same guy you see every day. It was just, you were jacked up, Sheila.
Listen, first of all, she knew better than to ask me how I was doing. I don't think she asked me how I was doing. And you know, I mean, listen, the Birds with Friends, you know, you talk to Bo. If you have to do a show with Bo 3 days a week, an hour a day, for what frickin' year are we on? You're not going to be getting the juice up every single time. And being the friendly, I mean, Mina Kimes is a pleasant person to be around. So, you know, that's like a once a year thing, right? You know, you got to bring your A game there, see if you can get a call back. So, of course, it's a different approach. Yeah, absolutely. And also, I don't go.
Just know that our listeners are not getting your A game. That's all.
We've well, as my wife says, the Birds with Friends listeners are getting the real me. You know, at times she says, she's like, "What are you doing? You're like letting too much of yourself out there. You sound crazy."
I definitely don't recommend that, Sheila. Definitely don't let too much of yourself out there.
So the Birds with Friends listeners should have an appreciation for it.
What was that? There was something you said very early on in the podcast. And then you were immediately like, I can't believe I just let this part of myself out there. It was something about how like if you're walking and you see a person they're like the only person around you, you have some thought about like, are they going to be the last person to see you or something like that?
It was, are you ever, no, we don't walk down the street and see other people anymore, but do you ever, if you're ever walking, are you like thinking in your head, like, what if I'm like the star witness to some crime right now that's like about to happen, and you're trying to remember like what color shirt the guy's wearing and that type of thing. So yes, that is how my mind operates.
It's good. You have a Brett Favre thing on here as well.
Yeah.
What is this guy doing? Does this guy think anybody wants his advice?
Well, why do people keep asking him?
Seriously, I mean, do we forget what he did when he was with the Jets?
Exactly.
He's a disaster. Oh, hey, listen, I have a very serious life problem. Does anybody have Brett Favre's phone number? No. No. John Watson doesn't care what you think, Brett Favre. Well, you know, he should just show up and do the job. Brett Favre held out till like September 6th.
Yeah, a guy who famously never just did the job.
Get out of here with this guy. Give me a break. Him and his copper fit sleeve that's going to cure arthritis and his Wrangler jeans. Get out of here. Nobody wants to be like you. Crying out loud.
Now, speaking of Brett Favre,
those are sponsors, are they?
No, we're
no,
good.
not yet.
Okay. Not yet.
Feels an Indochino, man. Do you want to tell this DM thing, or should we hold on to it? Speaking of Brett Favre,
yeah, I'm good either way. Yeah, it's not like illicit or anything. It's just it's a good example of how my career, I have like these brushes with, you know, the A-list celebrities, but never quite get it. So Andrew Brandt, who was with the Packers, right?
I'm not sure how to call him A-list, but you know,
NFL guy forever. Well, he's a professor at Villanova.
Yep.
And he has like these awesome panels every year that like everybody goes to. Like it'll be like Troy Vincent, you know, Howie Long, Brian Westbrook, Jay Wright.
Yep.
So I'm in my office.
Ben Igelana,
great New York Jets offensive lineman.
Yep.
Fan favorite in my house here. My son loves Ben Igelana. So I get a DM from Andrew Brett. Hey Brian, the annual panel is coming up this year for Villanova Law. I think he's a law professor.
Yes.
We'd really like you to be a part of it. And like, really super well written. You know, I'm like, wow. I'm gonna add an FCS receiver coach to the panel. Talk about my struggles, my trials, wait a minute. Like, I think he wants to get Brian Finneran on the panel. We're filling up a wide receiver, long-time pro. So I respond. I'm like, hey Andrew, I would love to do it. However, I think you may have me confused with Brian Finneran. And he sends back like the most apologetic, you know, hi coach, sorry for the slip up. You know, would love to have you talk sometime. You know, he was great. He was great, but it was like, man, I was almost on the panel.
That is so funny. You should have just showed up. Yeah.
Please.
suit and tie.
You crushed Brian Finneran. Give me a break.
Yeah, who needs to hear a word that Brian Finneran needs to say?
Brian Finneran's a good guy to talk to. He's
Big radio guy
Of
out of
course,
Atlanta now.
Zach's going for Finneran over Flynn. He can't help
no,
himself.
I'm not saying Finneran over Flynn. I'm just saying don't make this ripping on Brian Finneran, right? Like Brian Finneran, he's been very helpful for stories in the past. I'm not going to rip on Brian Finneran.
Coach Flynn's been very helpful as well.
That's true. That's true.
Not so much now that you have Ted, but
See how he tries to jump right on it? I mean, this guy. You wonder why I'm not plus
I think the last thing on here was a certain holiday jingle.
Yeah, so the Italian Christmas quarterback song was a huge hit in our household. Before my son even heard the shout out, he was rolling on the floor laughing. I'm like 1/8 Italian, probably a little bit less. But I was in no way offended by it. I thought it was hilarious. I really feel like it should become like a holiday tradition, like a different DiNucci themed.
Well, now that they hired an Italian coach, he can do it like every single podcast if he wanted.
He played the Italian card with Angelo. Yeah, he might appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about vowels at the end of names and all that good stuff, which my relatives are all in favor of. Yeah, I think here's where you put your foot on the gas, Bo, and just full speed ahead. And
I'm pumping the brakes. But I was happy to get the Austin Flynn shout out. It was
also like delayed gratification because for some reason I split that pod up over like 3 days, so I didn't get the song until
like 8 hours.
Yeah, I wonder why. Yeah,
a message to us, right?
But I didn't get it till like 3 days after it aired, so it completely I got a couple group texts like, "Dude, wait till you get to the end. There's an Easter egg," and I'm like, "Oh, what's the Easter egg?"
Ooh, I want to know about these group texts.
Whoa, burying the lead there. The group text.
It's the one.
Birds with Friends text.
It's the one with you two and not Zach that he gets really mad about whenever it's brought up.
I'm used to that by now.
All right. Well, Coach, you have been very generous with your time, as always. A pleasure to see you. A pleasure to have you. Any final thoughts or pieces of advice for Nick Ciriani?
A Super Bowl prediction. Oh yeah. Let's get a Super Bowl prediction.
Yeah, this is a struggle for me because I love the Chiefs. I love Andy Reid. I think we all know my feelings about Tom Brady. I'm a little torn on Bruce Arians because I love his offensive philosophy. Chucks the ball deep. I love what he's done for diversity hiring.
Pioneer,
Really been at the cutting edge of that, and I love it. But Bruce was also one of those dudes that used to bash the college quarterback and say all they do is they look at a sign and they get one signal and they run 4 plays. But I like what Bruce Arians does. But I'm going to go Chiefs 31, Buccaneers 30, just so I don't have to hear about Tom Brady's avocado ice cream and red hat in his locker and all that other gibberish. So sick of that guy.
Fair enough. I think that's
there's one other Coach Flynn, Nick Sirianni connection. This is a little Kevin Bacon ish. But
is it the way that they met their wives?
No. If you read the Jamestown newspapers, there's two huge figures in Jamestown in the NFL. Nick Sirianni's one, and the other one is a former player of Coach Flynn's, Stephen Carlson, right?
I can't take credit for Steve, but he's a Princeton guy. He was leaving right as I got here, but he is the best. He recovered a couple onside kicks for the Browns at the end of the year. It's his second year on the active roster. Steve Carlson was taught in school by, I want to say, either Nick Sirianni's dad or mom, or maybe both. No. But he's also same hometown, all that. Steve's a great guy, the best. I didn't coach him. I wish I would have. There were 2 guys actually, 2 receivers here that are in the NFL now that when I got here, they looked like the Winklevoss twins from the Social Network. And it was Steve and Jesper Horsted, who are both really doing a good job as tight ends in the NFL, doing a great job. So
there you go.
I'm not shocked that Z-Berm got that one. That's
when the Colts played the Browns, it was a huge story in Jamestown, New York. Like huge.
Oh, I'm glad you did that digging. And how did you meet your wife, Coach?
It was in Conshohocken at the boathouse. Marissa will sort of appreciate this. It was the night that Maryland blew the huge lead to Duke in the Final Four. I want to say 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left. We started dating, and then I left, went away for a couple of years, coach of Maryland, Flex, Eastern Illinois, and then came back to Villanova 2005. So, yeah, a lot of that's not the answer anymore. Is I met my wife or girlfriend at a bar. It's usually online or I did it the old school way. I had to write her phone number on a dollar bill, which is one of the $3 I had to my name at that point. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
That could be now that you've admitted it, it could be seen as a recruiting violation, I think, looking back, but
wouldn't be my first.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you,
thank you guys.
Again.
All right. Thanks, Coach Flynn.
Talk to you soon.
All right. I know Coach Flynn is not going to be happy to be missing this. However, with today's low interest rates, it's a great time to refinance your student loans. It's time to break out of the student debt cycle. Earnest can help you by refinancing your student loan. That's right. Earnest offers low rate student loan refinancing, and you can check your rate risk-free in just 2 minutes. With Earnest, you get radically flexible payments, and you can pick your loan term. By refinancing, you can reduce your loan term, save money, or combine multiple loans into a simple monthly payment. And if you have questions, you can even talk to a real-life human at Earnest for help. Isn't it time you stopped feeling overwhelmed by your student debt? Earnest is offering our listeners a $100 cash bonus. Refinance your student debt at earnest.com/birds. Terms and conditions apply. Earnest is giving our listeners a $100 bonus. Earnest.com/birds. Once again, you get a $100 cash bonus when you visit earnest.com/birds to refinance your student loan. Earnest Student Loan Refinancing made by Earnest Operations LLC, NMLS number 1204917, California Financing Law, license number 6054788, 303 2nd Street, Suite 401 North, San Francisco, California 94107. Visit earnest.com/licenses for a full list of licenses.
Some of you may have seen the news recently that The Athletic has been excited to announce a partnership, an exclusive U.S. partnership with BetMGM and its new sports betting hub. Sports betting coverage at The Athletic will deliver all the insights, analysis, and original reporting subscribers have come to expect, plus fully integrated live odds and special offers from BetMGM. So with the Super Bowl right around the corner on Sunday, it's time to sign up. Get your incentives here, and of course you can look at The Athletic, and Shields got a betting guide out to the game. I think I agreed with him. I like the Tom Brady for scoring a touchdown at plus 500. That seems like a nice bet. BetMGM is offering Birds with Friends listeners a 100% deposit match up to $500. So just sign up at betmgm.com and use the bonus code BIRDS to take advantage of this special offer from the King of Sportsbooks. This offer is for new customers and is paid in bonus dollars. That's a 100% deposit match up to $500 at betmgm.com with the bonus code BIRDS. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. Must be 21 years of age or older. Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, or West Virginia only. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Nevada, and Virginia. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. And 100-BETS-OFF in Iowa. In Tennessee, call or text the red line at 800-889-9789. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. Promotional offer not available in Nevada. All right.
So have I been freezing? Have I been freezing less often in the last 15 minutes or so? Or no?
Yeah, it's been better.
So I had to shut down the YouTube, so I'm not seeing the comments. So if anybody wants to handle the comments, or if there's a tweet about Carson Wentz being traded, I will also not be all over that. But I assume that's what we're talking about next.
And a very smooth slide in as the box replacement by Marissa on Coach Flynn's vacancy.
That was great.
So nice job.
I think we need to make him a regular, according to the chat.
And Marissa, you're getting a lot of due credit for the technology or the interface here. You're doing an outstanding job.
Throwing up some of the comments, which is pretty cool.
And people should know it's not just that Marissa is like orchestrating the bells and whistles, but she was also the muscle behind getting us this product to begin with. So she knocked enough heads around, enough higher ups that she made this happen.
Yeah. So keep sending in your questions and comments.
So for those of you in the chat, do put in some more suggestions for our Super Bowl super sorecasting, which we will finish with. But before we do that, let's talk a little Carson Wentz, and let's send it over to the Stone Cold Newsman for an update on the latest, what's going on in the scuttlebutt surrounding Carson Wentz and the Eagles.
Great graphic. The Eagles are listening to offers on Carson Wentz, according to the NFL Network. They are not hanging up the phone. They're not the ones making the calls, but they're not hanging up the phone. If that terminology sounds common or it's something you've heard before, it's because our own Shio Kapadia has predicted that would be the playbook they would use. It's straight from the Eagles playbook. A matter of fact, in a text message exchange with Bo and Shio earlier, I was pointing out the different times when that exact terminology has been used. They're getting inquiries and they're listening to offers here. They're not actively shopping him. So it's something that the Eagles have gone to before, but certainly it shows that this is a real thing. We've been discussing it for months. There's been speculation. Would they trade him? Would they eat the cap hit? Are they going to try to fix him? And certainly this would be an indication that a trade is not just possible, but potentially even likely. And then we're a few days late here, but the news connection to this, and we talked about it with Coach Flynn, is that Jared Goff was traded over the weekend. Jared Goff going to the Lions, and the Lions taking on the contract are getting 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick. In return, Matthew Stafford goes to the Rams. So the quarterback domino is already falling. That's the big news from the Carson Wentz front. Otherwise, not much news to report. The Eagles still finalizing that staff. They hired a linebackers coach from the Vikings, Rowis, I believe. And a few final pieces to go. Running backs coach is really the big one to watch right now.
The linebackers coach, whose brother is a WWE wrestler. So there you go. What did quickly on Wentz? What did given a second chance to clarify his quarterback comments? What did Nick Sirianni say on WIP earlier this week? He didn't commit to him, right? It was the similar. Yeah. He kept saying he likes competition. When asked if they were going to have competition at quarterback, he said there's going to be competition everywhere. He talked about how, he watched Carson Wentz in 2018 when him and Frank were putting the offense together, but it still wasn't like, this is my guy. And it's interesting because he's had a few opportunities to do so. If Carson Wentz was going to be the quarterback, or if they knew that, then it would behoove him to come out and say it. It sounds to me, and by all appearances, the hemming and hawing about the quarterback position by Ciriani, this report from Mike Garafolo and Ian Rappaport that the Eagles are, listening to offers. I mean, it sounds to me like this is over. It sounds to me like Carson Wentz is going to be traded,
and soon.
Do you guys have the similar impression?
I do. Yeah. No, I think it's headed that way. I think I feel like we've been talking about the pros and cons of a Carson Wentz trade for like 3 months now. But, I do think we also spoke on this podcast and we're all in agreement that this was not the Eagles choosing Carson Wentz over Doug Peterson when they fired him. I know that's what some people thought. And again, to go back to sort of the financials on this and to give you the case for why they could think about or should trade Carson Wentz, they would take the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history. If they trade him, it would be over $33 million. However, they would be saving potentially $25 million in cash by not paying his 2021 salary, and they would be saving $15 million in his 2022 salary, which becomes guaranteed on March 19th. So in terms of what the organization has to pay out for Carson Wentz, you're talking about a savings of $40 million. And also, as I was thinking about this, Jeffrey Lurie made it clear in his one press conference, the first one, where he took questions, that part of the reason why he moved on from Doug Peterson. Now, I didn't buy this, but it was at least a thought into what they're thinking about the state of the franchise, was that they don't expect like 2021 to be a year where they are competing for a Super Bowl. Now, we've discussed that they usually don't know when they're competing for a Super Bowl and when they're not competing for a Super Bowl. However, if you look at it from that perspective, with those low expectations, a first-year head coach, not a lot of room to improve the roster, not expectations that you're going to be really good in 2021. Well, what trading Carson Wentz does is it gets you he's off your books by 2022. Yeah. So you're taking this huge hit. You're not going to be able to do a lot. You don't want to do this. It is unprecedented. I don't want to make this sound like it's easy. It is unprecedented to move a player with that kind of cap hit. However, if you're viewing this as a big picture, long-term thing, then it absolutely, could make sense from that perspective.
So I will admit this, right? I was in that group that Shield referred to when they said they're choosing or that they're choosing Carson Wentz over Doug Peterson, right? Like they're firing Doug. I figured at the end of the year there would be a change at coach or quarterback this year. I wrote and said I can see Doug and Carson both returning. But I thought that I thought when they fired Doug, they were going to keep Carson, and that I thought when they hired Ciriani, they were trying to fix Carson. So it would be hypocritical for me to act like I saw this coming all along, because I did not. Now I think it's coming. I think a trade's going to happen soon. That report's out there, in my opinion, essentially saying, get your best offers, right? I think they already have something that they might like, and this report's about making it known elsewhere. Get your offers in now. Shield mentioned the cap ramifications, and the big part of that is it has to be done in the next few weeks, right? Because if it's not, unless they adjust the contract, then he could do that if he really wants out. But go ahead. Exactly. So I don't think this is something that would happen in April or May. I think this is something that would happen in the next few weeks. And you already saw with the Stafford Goff trade, it could happen much sooner rather than later. There's a few parts here that I don't want to ramble, but that I think is important to mention. I think Carson is a big part of this. I don't know if Carson wants to be here. And that could be a factor here, number one. Number two, I thought that there was or is more risk in Carson becoming really good somewhere else than Carson being bad here, right? If you traded a guy and he's a franchise quarterback elsewhere. Why? Because I think that he has a skill set that, he's proven that he can play at a high level. Like we've discussed on this podcast, his baseline in the past has been above average starting quarterback. And he's 28 years old and he's under contract. So if you traded Carson and you trade him to the Colts and he goes on to become near what he was, and you're juggling you have Jalen Hurts or you draft somebody, then you traded a guy that you moved mountains to get, that you paid, that was in your building. But there is also that idea that maybe it can't happen here anymore, right? Like maybe there's just too much baggage. And Bo, I give you credit. You've been all over the locker room component of it, right? If you march him back and he's the guy, because the only way I can see him coming back is if he's the guy. If he's the guy, what does that say to the locker room? So you were all over that.
Well, and I think that Malcolm Jenkins' comments, which we didn't talk about, were very important on that front, because obviously he's a guy who knows what he's talking about.
Exactly. So I don't mean to ramble there, but I just wanted to make clear, like, I know I said I didn't think this was going to happen when they fired Doug and when they hired Sirianni. I do think it's going to happen now.
So I disagree on the risk front, just because, like, if you're talking about risk, the risk of him being good elsewhere, it's just your ego. It's just perception. It has no bearing on the team itself. If he goes somewhere else and makes you look bad because he's really good, well, you still have a chance to replace the quarterback. Hopefully you've gotten some kind of compensation in return. Whereas the risk of him staying and being as bad as he was last year is that you have a terrible quarterback and you're paying him a lot of money. So I think that is a big risk.
I mean, the risk is it's hard to find that type of quarterback, right? Like, if you have one and you let him go, then and you continue searching, it's not like a Drew Brees, Philip Rivers situation, unless Jalen Hurts is that guy. So that's the risk there. And I thought that if he came back and he was bad, then you let go of him next year. You obviously don't get compensation for him, and you're back in that quarterback search pool, and you burned a year. But now like there is this, and maybe Coach Flynn's right. Maybe he's not good. Maybe 2017 was the outlier and not 2020. And if that's the case, get something for him now, because if he's not good, there is no value thereafter.
And, like, what would we have thought about Carson Wentz if he didn't have the final 4 games of the 2019 season, right? Against those very bad teams when he helped, rally them to the playoffs. Like, those first 12 games of that year, he wasn't great either. And I think the point about Carson maybe not wanting to be here is important, because it does seem to me like one of the better explanations of just how badly the Eagles have fumbled their quarterback position is that they no longer have the agency of deciding how things are going to go moving forward. Because if they want to trade him, they still need somebody to want to trade for him. And if they want to keep Carson, well, he may not want to stay. So on sort of both outcomes, they are no longer in the position where they have the most power to determine what the quarterback position is going to look like moving forward. And this is, as we've said a million times, before Carson's extension even kicks in, they've sort of fumbled it this badly.
Have they ever gone like the Lions path of, hey, this player X is available, it's known, both sides agreed, it's time to move on, get your offers in, just be totally open about it? Because I'm trying to remember during like the Howie Roseman era, because every year, players' names come up and it's, well, we're listening to offers. We're not, like, they always try to go that path. I'm just wondering, can you guys think of anybody? Has there ever been a player where they've said
the closest to it was DeMarco Murray in 2016, right? Like, that was, and that wasn't a situation where it's like, come start your bidding war. It was just pretty clear that there were
anybody,
please.
And it's so funny. And you're right, Sheila, because it's so funny because they don't just do it with, like, Carson and Foles. It's like Alshon Jeffrey, who that nobody wants.
Yeah.
It's still like, we love Alshon. We want to keep Alshon, but if someone makes us an offer, we sure would have to listen. Like, you're right. It's the exact same playbook.
It's the same terminology that they've used over and over again. Like, just
right.
We're listening. We're not the ones calling, but we're listening. Yeah.
And especially think about it with this player specifically. Like, maybe you can get away with that with Alshon Jeffrey and Nelson Aguilar, but given all the issues you've had with this player and coddling versus him feeling disrespected, and now there's reports out there that his name is on the block. And now you're telling me that if you don't get the offer you want, you're going to bring him back after that with, a quarterback's coach who Jalen Hurts has known since he was 4 years old, and a new head coach in a locker room who thinks you're the reason they're, a coach they liked is no longer there, and say, all right, let's go 2021. I mean, it is hard for me to believe. I'll never say never. Maybe that's the case. I think, Zach, you're probably right that they have a baseline offer on the table, or it might not be an official offer, but they have a good sense of, all right, if no one else calls, this is the sort of offer we have right now. Yeah. And that will be good enough for us to just move on, because you do, you when you're having these discussions, you do have to decide what's the what's the worst offer we would accept, basically?
Yep.
All right, we want to move on from the player. What's the worst offer we would accept? And then you should know how realistic it is to at least get that worst offer, because if you're not even getting that, and there's 10% of you that says, hey, maybe we should just bring him back if we don't get the offer, then this might not be the way you let it be known. And also, the other thing is that, I think that when and if they do trade him, they will sell this as we thought this was best for the organization and for Carson. Sometimes the guy needs a change of scenery. And that is such a failure on your part. I mean, really, if you think that he's got some level of play in him that is top level quarterback play, and you're telling me you can't make the moves around him, whether it's coaching, talent, environment, culture, communication, whatever it is, to get that out of him, then that is a failure on your part, especially given what you have invested in him. And so I know that's how they're going to spin it, and I'm going to go on this rant again when and if that happens, but I just kind of wanted to get ahead of that. In terms of whether he can ever reach that level again, I think I've been, he can. Certainly, I don't know what percentage it is, 10%, 15%, that 2017 version comes back. There's a higher percentage that the 20,000. Yeah. Lower than 10%.
No, I just mean if we're talking, I think your expectations for Carson Wentz rebounding should not realistically be 2017. That's all.
Right. Yeah. Especially not consistently. Maybe it's like that 3-year run where 2 years he's the 12th best quarterback and 1 year he's a top 5. Like that would not shock me. But I do think there are just so many. It's not just that he was bad. It's the way in which he's bad, the areas in which he has flaws, the ball security, whether you want to call it durability, the inaccuracy issues. And I was also thinking just in terms of a player's improvement. I mean, what has he really gotten better? Has he shown the ability to improve in any single area where you say, man, in 2017, he was doing this, but look at him now, even if the overall, and it's not really there. I mean, everything has either gotten worse or stayed exactly the same. So it's tough for me to project at this point in his career. Now, maybe there will be a special coach who gets it out of him, or I don't know, but I do think it's harder to achieve that than maybe we think.
I still think it's the Colts, right? I just think it just
the most obvious team,
makes too much. And then, but
that was part of the deal for letting the Eagles hire those assistants. It was all part of the trade package.
I like that.
Yeah, perhaps somebody put a system together for Carson Wentz. I also, and I could be wrong here, right? I've already expressed that I've been wrong on this before. I don't think a trade of Carson Wentz would be a signal that they believe Jalen Hurts is their franchise quarterback.
100%.
I wouldn't interpret it that way. Okay. I think first off, I see the reference in Bo's square there that it could be them playing the quarterback draft this year. They have the number 6 pick. They could think that there might be 2 or 3 quarterbacks who fall there. That could be one idea. The other idea could be, let's play this out with Jalen Hurts, like Sheil mentioned before, reset the salary cap, figure out what we have, truly be a team in transition. If Hurts is not the guy, we'll go into next year's draft and we'll find the guy. So I don't think this is about Hurts, but what's interesting to me is the Rams made that trade because they were very clear that Jared Goff is not the quarterback for us. They didn't sell it the way Sheil said the Eagles would sell it. And I agree. Sheil would say, the Eagles would say this is best for both sides. The Rams were like, we need an upgrade. We know
we were really mean. I mean, we were jerks about it.
Exactly. But he's not the guy anymore. And I'm curious if the impetus for this trade is if the Eagles have the same sentiment, if the Eagles, if they're looking at this and they're saying Carson's not the guy, or if they're looking at this and saying there's too much baggage here, he doesn't want to be here, it's going to be hard to sell it with the locker room, we're resetting, we don't want to have this cap obligation going forward, so let's just cut loose now. I'm curious which one it is.
I think it's different. I think it's different than the Rams. I think it would basically be, and this is a vague general answer, but what is our best path going forward to sort of revamp our roster, get out of this cap situation, and get back to being a Super Bowl contender. I think the Rams were in a spot where they looked at their roster and the season they just had and said, we're ready to win a Super Bowl now. We think our quarterback sucks. Yeah. We got to take either we just stick with him and see what happens, or we take a big swing. It was like a situation where probably neither answer, neither answer is right. Like, I'm not convinced they're going to win a Super Bowl. Their defense is going to regress. They just lost their coordinator. They're going to lose some key free agents. It's not going to be the same team. And so they shouldn't look at it that way. Having said that, I don't have an issue with the swing that they took because I do think they had no path forward with Jared Goff. I'm not the biggest Matthew Stafford fan, but if you're them, I could see yourself, talking yourselves into a situation where you say, if a defensive coordinator can't build around Ramsey and Donald and get us like a top 10 defense at least, then what are we doing here? Then the guy probably sucks. And offensively, Goff has turned the ball over and, he just hasn't been the guy. I think him and McVay clashed quite a bit. And so they just wanted someone who was a little bit more talented. And so we'll see how it works. But I think theirs was much more short-term thinking.
And by the way, can we stop celebrating that Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay are on vacation together in Cabo or wherever it is? Like, maybe they shouldn't be on vacation right now.
Wasn't Nick Sirianni on vacation?
Yeah,
right, well, Zach? Or no?
True.
Wasn't Nick Sirianni on? Yeah.
Yeah, he was visiting family down in South Florida.
You're calling somebody out. You got to call them all out.
That's true. That's
when
fair.
In week 4 of next season, when you get to ask Nick Sirianni a question, I expect you to come back to that.
Yeah,
so the fascinating thing too,
into Jeffrey Lurie's house, flying him in, and everybody breathing all over each other for a couple hours at a time. Go ahead, Zach.
The fascinating thing when you look at 4 of the quarterbacks who are in the news right now, okay, that you think back to the 2016 draft, and one of the reasons Howie Roseman said that they were motivated to trade up is they looked at the drafts coming up. And they didn't think that franchise guys were in they didn't think next year's draft had the franchise year. So anyway, Goff and Wentz are, Goff's already been traded. Wentz has been benched and will be traded. And the following year's draft produced Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Okay?
Who weren't even the first 2 quarterbacks picked in the draft.
Yeah. And so it's and I'm not saying that to kind of like pin it on Howie. It's just you never know with these things, number one, because, look, the time before that when a quarterback went 1-2, I believe was 2015, Mariota, or with Winston and Mariota, and both teams moved on from those guys. And look, the Bucs are in the Super Bowl now. The Titans have a guy they think is their franchise quarterback. And so I've written and said that the best chance of getting that franchise guy is at the top of the draft. But you also miss quite a bit there too.
On the Hurts thing, quickly. On the Hurts thing, I totally agree that they should not be sold that Hurts is the franchise quarterback, and I think if they do like one of those quarterbacks at the top of the draft, they should pull the trigger because there's no guarantee you get that chance. But I do think if you think about the way that this front office occasionally makes decisions and is like so worried about public perception, I think the way that they can like sell moving on from Carson Wentz and we didn't bungle this because we actually made some good decisions here is if they try to work it out with Jalen Hurts as the starting quarterback, because then it's like, oh, what a prescient pick that was that you picked him, even though people thought you had a starting quarterback, and now you've got this guy who you picked in the second round who is your starting quarterback. I do think I would lean toward them having Hurts at least try to be the starting quarterback for this next year and see how things play out. And also, if you look at like the staff, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I can picture, week 6 of next season, Monday morning quarterback, the 4-2 Eagles with Jalen Hurts. I had a 30-minute conversation with Howie Roseman. And, he said when he took that Hurts pick, he was getting crushed locally, but he would love it. So you are right. Organizationally, if he's making if Sirianni's getting pushed, or I absolutely could see that, but I don't think it's a bad idea to just, if you trade Wentz, you go with Hurts this year. If Hurts stinks, you should have a pretty good pick in the next draft. If he's great, well, that's a win too. Now, there is a big middle range there where he could be okay, which might be the most likely outcome, actually, that he's okay, that you win 6-7 games and you're not there. So it's not quite that simple, but part of it, I think, depends on what you get for Wentz. If it's a trade that is tied to compensation, like a conditional pick based on how he plays for 2022, then you have to factor that into what kind of draft capital you're going to have next year.
Did you have something, Zach?
No,
I thought I'd cut you off. Right.
No, I was going to make some more Hurts points, and just to the scenario you guys outlined. If they were right, if Hurts becomes the guy and he's a legit quarterback, I'll absolutely give them credit for the pick. It's still backing yourselves into it, but yeah, I mean, I'll be the first one to say I was wrong with what I said about the Hurts pick if Hurts becomes the franchise guy.
So in terms of teams that could potentially trade for Carson Wentz, we mentioned the Colts. Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, they don't have a quarterback on the roster. They have cap space. There's obviously a relationship there. Yep. Wentz would, theoretically be happy with that destination.
And Press Taylor now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think they're far and away number one. Some other teams that I find interesting here, the Carolina Panthers seem very interested in making a move at quarterback. I think they were in on Matthew Stafford. Now,
yes,
they might not view Wentz as a huge swing and a guy to take them in the right direction, but they might. I mean, it's very tough to predict. You can listen and talk to a lot of smart people, and the predictions for what the Eagles' compensation is going to be back is kind of all over the map. And because the opinions of this guy based on how he performed last year compared to how he performed previously, it's just really hard to track what a coach and organization thinks they could get out of him. The San Francisco 49ers, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Would they view him as a significant upgrade over a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo, given the risk? Maybe, but they have an easy out with Garoppolo where they can get out of his $25 million contract with nothing tied to it. And so they're a team that can very easily make a move at the quarterback position. The Broncos are always kind of lurking there. They've got no answer at quarterback. They've got some nice young wide receivers. They've got some nice pieces on defense. Would Joe Douglas view Carson Wentz as a guy who get him here? I don't know. I don't know if you guys have insight on whether that would be likely or unlikely, but I mean, he certainly has a leg up on everybody else, right? He's been around Wentz. He knows him well. He knows how he's been coached. He knows what mistakes they might have made around him, what his upside would be. And so that's one to keep an eye on. And then I guess the others just to throw in there, Patriots, I don't necessarily see it. The Raiders are sort of like a wild card, I would guess.
I think the Raiders are an interesting one.
Yeah. And then the other two teams I wrote.
Close with the front office.
Yeah. No, just the other two teams I wrote down were Washington and the Bears.
The Bears are a team that I have heard could be interested in them. So I would watch out for that. And then I'm curious. Well, I think this would be helpful for our listeners. Either one of you can jump in on this. My understanding is that Wentz's contract, if you compare it to Goff, it's harder for the trading team to swallow. It's better for the acquiring team. Is that a fair characterization? Like if you trade for Goff,
they're going to have more dead money than the Rams had. But yes, he would be. I think. What's Wentz on? Wentz would be on the hook for. I think it's actually pretty similar here. I'm trying to look here. A 2-year.
Isn't it 240 or something? A little bit over 40.
I think.
Well, so
more than that.
So the Lions were on the hook for the next 2 years at $40 million with Goff, I believe, and so part of that was paying the team to take the contract. I'm curious, do you guys think the Eagles would need to pay the team to take the contract, or do you think they're getting the compensation for the player? Because based on my understanding of the contract, they'll be able to get compensated for the player. They're the ones taking the cap hit. There's more flexibility for the acquiring team. And so the Eagles, let's say it's a first-round pick, I think that'd be the best case scenario. But they wouldn't have to pay a team to take on Wentz.
my expectation is that they would not be paying to get off of the contract, and that's only just because I think this, whether it's made up or not, this idea that there is a market. That's them saying, as you said, that they have an offer that they would probably take, and I think they would not be quite ready to take paying to unload him. And then the other thing I was going to say is that it's interesting because we have talked about there's this perception that the Eagles are the contract geniuses, and they signed Wentz before the Rams signed Goff, and yet their deal is much more penal to get out of than Goff's was. So that tells you that it was not necessarily the best designed contract. Now, it by all intents and purposes, it was basically constructed so that they were going to restructure Wentz this offseason to clear up a bunch of cap space. That's how the entire cap situation was designed, was that they were going to use this offseason to restructure Wentz's deal, and it has obviously come back to bite them.
Yeah, so Wentz would be, for the acquiring team, 2 years, about $47 million. That's guaranteed, and then if you want to keep him, he's actually signed for 2 more years. Goff is 2 years, $54 million. So it would be an easier contract to acquire, like you said, than to trade.
Okay. Anything else on this? On this
emergency pod next week, right?
Next week. Yeah. I mean, it might be a weekend. I'm ready.
Saturday pod?
When this stuff gets leaked,
I go on vacation. That's what it's.
Yeah. Let Bo know how to do all these bells and whistles.
I'll come back if there's a trade. I will.
No. But
I'm not
there's supposed to be that unwritten rule. Don't do something during the Super Bowl weekend, right? I don't know if that. If people would hear
the Alex Smith Washington trade happened during the run up to the Eagles Super Bowl.
Exactly. So maybe that's not recognized.
I had to write a Marshawn Lynch retired story during the Super Bowl at my home in I
remember he put the tweet up with the shoelaces on, the shoes on the.
I'm like, come on, man! I've been, really right now. I think my daughter was had just been born 2 weeks earlier, and I'm like, do I really have to write a newser here? But anyway,
that's my wife says about every piece of
you think this means that. You think this means
I don't know.
Soon? Is that what you're saying?
When a report gets, leaked like that,
I agree.
I don't think it means we're going to be waiting 2 months for a trade to happen.
I agree with that. All right, so, Zach, why don't you get us into Blue Nile?
Exactly. This is an important time because we're already in February. This episode is brought to you by 1010. Now, you might have read about this in the New York Times, in Style Magazine, or Forbes, and we're excited to tell you about it. 1010 is an exclusive collection of 10 one-of-a-kind engagement rings designed by 10 of the most distinctive designers working today. Using only diamonds responsibly sourced from Botswana, 10 design masters have each produced a uniquely beautiful commitment ring. They're available now exclusively at BlueNile.com, and when they're gone, they are gone. We all know that the diamond engagement ring is iconic. It's a timeless expression of the deepest commitment between two people. And with 1010, it's been beautifully re-envisioned in the hands of 10 modern designers working exclusively with sustainably sourced diamonds. If you're ready to mark a special commitment or looking for a unique and meaningful way to celebrate Valentine's Day, you're definitely going to want to check this out. Again, this exciting limited edition collection of diamond engagement rings is now available exclusively at BlueNile.com.
I hope you were reading that loud enough for one specific person in the greater Birds with Friends universe to hear. As for me, with the new year, we're all trying to eat better, but healthy breakfast doesn't have to be boring. Magic Spoon has the amazing flavors you love, but without all the bad stuff. 0 sugar, 11 grams of protein, and only 3 net grams of carbs in each serving. So many of you have asked, and now you can finally build your very own custom variety box. You can choose from the best-selling cocoa, fruity, frosted, and blueberry flavors, plus brand new flavors including peanut butter and cinnamon. It tastes amazing. Honestly, too good to be true. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. My favorite flavor has been the fruity, although I do still want to try the peanut butter and cinnamon, which I have not yet had a chance to do. So go to magicspoon.com/birds to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code BIRDS at checkout to save $5 off your order. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. That's magicspoon.com/birds and use the code BIRDS to save $5 off. We thank Magic Spoon for sponsoring this podcast. All right, so an hour and a half into the show, it's time to do some superb owl super swordcasting. That grimace on Shield's face tells you pretty much where we are. Are you guys ready?
How many turkeys do we have?
So we'll do. We've got 24 turkeys each. This is a one-time only affair, so no reason to hoard and save these turkeys, Zach. These will not be replenished.
What's on the line here?
Yeah, what is on the line? Do we owe you something for the last thing we did?
Yeah, you owe me
a
pastificios, I think.
Pastificios? Okay, I can accommodate that.
Something like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll happily oblige.
So what, you want to go double or nothing?
Get you a nice baguette sent to you so you can finally try a baguette. Yeah, why don't we do I don't know, lunch?
Okay, lunch.
How about
lunch
how about we set a price limit on a BetMGM bet, and the winner gets a free bet basically from the other host here.
What do you mean?
So it's basically
like we say like $10. Yeah.
Money and then,
but it can compound, right? You know, like you can do like a 3-team parlay there if
what a company man here. Look at this guy.
Yeah. If you just want something straight, you know, you could take like a minus 400 NBA game and you know, you can come out with $14 or something, right? Like,
all right. So the two losers have to give the winner $20 each, but that $40 has to be spent on a BetMGM bet. Is that what we're doing?
I was saying 10, but we can go 20.
10, okay. 10 each. 10 each. So 20. 10 each. Yeah, you get a $20
I was thinking the cost of like a pastificio sandwich. That's how I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very reasonable prices.
And how about this? If ties will be broken by if you have turkeys remaining, how many turkeys left over you have?
Okay.
What if you have zero? We need to clear this up now.
Everybody has zero.
Thank you, Marissa.
Or if there's a tie with however many turkeys you do have left, the second tiebreaker is credit goes to whoever spent the most money on a bet that they got correct.
No,
okay.
let's do this. If Dennis, we know you're listening. Send us what the right tiebreaker should be after this and that, and I think we can all trust in Dennis to come up with something.
The tiebreaker has to be given ahead of time, otherwise, you know, Dennis could be playing favorites.
2 hours in here.
You're the one who didn't accept the already proposed tiebreakers. Okay, Marissa, take it away.
All right. Well, I apologize for not having a fancy intro. My computer crashed before we started this. I did not know we were playing today, so
no.
But you did have one in the works.
Yeah, I tried, but we'll put the music in post. So just pretend the fancy music is here. So I will say that a lot of the listeners submitted very similar ideas that you guys submitted. So just letting everyone know we're on the same wavelength. So I think that's
okay.
Pretty cool. But all right, so let's start with a non-quarterback throws a touchdown.
The Philly special bet here.
Ooh, throws a touchdown.
1.
Wait, how many do we have each?
24 turkeys each, 12 questions, right?
Yeah, 12. Let's make sure it's 24 turkeys.
1 going once.
I'll go 2.
2. Do I want to go 3? Non-QB throws a touchdown. Brady.
This isn't 4th down at the goal line, though. It's just it's any touchdown.
Any touchdown. I'll go 3.
Should we should we include 2-point conversion or no? Like throwing the touchdown and 2-point conversion? That counts.
I would say that counts.
Okay.
Oh, it does. Oh, feeling great about 3. Okay.
I'm going to let you have it.
All right.
You can have
Okay.
it.
Okay. Mahomes gets sacked more than Brady.
1,
2,
3,
4,
5.
Do I hear 6?
6.
Ooh.
This is a good one because it's an either or. Although I guess it could be a tie.
Going
Ooh,
one.
could be a tie. I didn't think
I'll
about
go
that.
7.
7. Oh.
Yes. The question says Mahomes gets sacked more than Brady.
You've been hearing about that Chiefs offensive line all week, right?
No Eric Fisher.
I'll go 8.
Ooh.
Going once. Going twice.
Good one. Oh, baby.
Sold to Z-Berm for 8.
Oh, that's
That's a good one.
nice. That's
Yeah.
real nice.
I'm gambling with my boy Todd Bowles here.
Maybe they'll run a high school deep coverage.
Okay. At least 4 different Chiefs players score a touchdown.
4 different. Wow.
Woo.
1,
2,
3.
4.
5.
Ooh. This is such a worse one than the last one. Zach got a steal.
Yeah, we should have
6.
driven that up higher. That was a bad job.
Do I hear 7?
No.
Can't do it.
Once. So Bo gets it for 6. Okay. All right. Now, this was a very, very popular one in the chat as well. Tom Brady doesn't shake Patrick Mahomes' hand or embrace him in any other way after the game.
Just bid this up for Bo because this is definitely Bo's.
Doesn't.
Bo's bid.
Okay.
Yes, does not.
No, now Marissa is the judge here, so if they're if there's a gray area between whether there was a greeting or not, I mean there doesn't have to be physical contact, right? Like if they're close.
It says embrace him in any other way.
And does it say on the field or if we see footage of
After the game?
Got to be on the field.
So it can't be one of those tunnel things,
No.
no.
Yeah, it's got to be the public. It's got to be the public showing.
The regular,
Okay.
but what if they go up to each other? There's no physical contact, but it's like it's not like he snubs him. I mean, we'll know if he snubs him.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
I think
it's got to be
I
a
think
clear
it's more if
snub.
he walks off the field and there's no.
Which
issue.
is
If
prone
he
to
just
do.
beelines, if he just exits stage right,
Yeah.
Okay.
She does often, yeah. 1.
2. I want to bid Bo up here, right?
I don't know. Bo looks hesitant.
No.
And
Wow.
earlier he said he's betting on Brady scoring a touchdown or something. What the hell's going on here?
3.
I hear 4. Going once. Going twice. Sold to Bo for 3.
Oh, what a steal! I would have gone way higher on that one.
I was afraid you were gonna let me go, and then I would have exhausted a sixth of my turkeys on something I don't think is gonna happen.
All right. Well, this is a good one. Andy Reid will mention a cheeseburger or sweet and sour pork in a post-game interview Sunday or Monday, and then in parentheses it says can be any interview.
How many do I have left?
You have 16. Still has 21.
I know.
No other, but it has to be. Was that cheeseburger or hamburger?
We'll mention a cheeseburger or sweet and sour pork.
Okay, it has to be cheeseburger
Exactly.
or yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Sweet and sour pork.
1.
Sunday or Monday.
5.
So I'm going to need the listeners, if they hear any interview,
Yeah.
just tweet me that.
6.
6. 7.
8.
Do I hear 9?
Nine.
This is my question, by the way.
9.
9. Oh my gosh. I've never seen Zach so free with his turkeys.
I can't carry them over, right? So
10.
Yep. Wow. 11.
Wait, who's saying 11? You?
Marissa.
No,
Marissa's
okay,
bidding.
You're bidding.
Marissa wants in
Marissa's
on
so
this one. She feels so good about it.
Do I hear 11?
I think I'm hoping. I'm
Wow.
hoping he busts out. Maybe he busts out a new one just for the second Super Bowl.
Old to Shield for 10. Shield, you better hope it's a cheeseburger, sweet and sour. Borg, if you mentioned something else, that's going to be pretty devastating.
I've heard him enough to know he doesn't have.
Yeah.
He's not going with anything else.
He goes to the greatest hits during Super Bowl week.
Yeah.
All right. Tyreek Hill has over 119 receiving yards, and it does say over 119 receiving
So he
yards.
needs 120.
That feels like a Zach one.
It's
Why
not.
was it?
Nope.
Why is it exactly 119?
That was a chat one.
I don't know.
Is that what the? No, that's not what the prop is. Yeah, I don't know.
1.
2.
3.
4.
So I hear 5.
I'll go 5.
This is the 6th one we're doing.
Correct.
Yep. Jill has 11. You have 16. Bo has 15. I believe.
I'll go 6.
Seven. Going once.
God, well, you got such a steal on that Mahomes one.
Going
Sad.
I'm
twice.
sucking on this. I spent
I'll go
13
7.
turkeys on non-QB throws TD, cheeseburger, and sweet and sour pork. What am I doing?
You said you'll go 7, Bo?
I'll go 7.
Okay. Anyone? 8.
There's some West Coast Conference basketball games I want to bet here, and so I'm being very careful.
And Zach, if you win, you're gonna turn that MGM into like $500.
That's my goal, right? Yeah. Or do a futures bet on it.
Anything you make over $500, the 2 losers get a 10% kickback.
I'm not turning 10 into over 500, but sure.
No, it's 20.
20. Yeah,
It's
true.
20.
True. Now I'm out of this one.
Shill?
All right. Going once, twice.
Yeah.
Sold to Bo for 7. Okay.
I've got 8 left.
Yes. All right. LaShawn McCoy touches the ball.
Has not touched the ball since December 25th, I believe, or 26th, since week 16.
What a nice Christmas present.
But he's expected to be active as insurance for Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. 1.
Zach's
action
gonna win
you were
this
hoping
one.
for.
He's getting value.
Yeah.
I can't be
Good.
wasting 2 on this bad boy.
Once,
Someone goes down. He's
twice.
Yeah, I mean,
Gets
it's
to an
a very.
injury. Hold on. 2. I'll go 2.
3, anyone?
I'll go 3.
Okay. Good. Drove it up a little bit.
All right.
So-
You got
He
it.
wasn't active last year for this game.
Right.
Right.
And if you check out Zach's story on The Athletic,
Thank you very much. You'd be one of the few who did.
Very quickly. Very quickly. Are we talking offensive touches or touches the ball?
it just says
Touches the ball. Touches
So if
the
he
ball.
drops a pass, that counts.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
No.
Offensive
No.
touch. Offensive touch.
He has to possess the ball.
Yes,
just
possess the ball.
Okay,
Yeah.
touches
Okay.
the ball. I will add possess.
So an onside kick recovery counts. He has to possess the ball.
Yeah,
at some
that
point.
counts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is he on the hands team though?
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it
The way
too.
he carries the ball. Yeah. Although he
I
might
don't
have
think
some
LaShawn's going to
fumble a lot.
special teams meetings.
Yeah.
Okay,
What
All right,
question are
5
we
left.
on?
we have 5 left.
5 left.
Travis Kelce catches 10 passes or more.
1.
What's a good one?
2.
3.
I hear 4.
4.
Do I hear 5?
I'll go 5.
6. Anyone?
10. 10 is a lot, but he is going to catch a lot. I'll go 6.
Woo! I don't
Going
think I'm
once?
going to go 7.
Going twice. Sold.
10 catches or more, right? I think I wrote this one, but all
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
At least 10 catches.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes throws for more yards than Nick Foles did in Super Bowl 52.
So that's 373 yards.
Let me write that down.
How many receiving yards did Corey Clement have in the Super Bowl?
Exactly 100.
How many catches did Zach Ertz have?
Catches?
Yes.
All
He was
right, we
7.
gotta
He was
count.
7 for 67 in that game.
You can do this on your own time.
Yeah. I wrote the book on the Super Bowl. Underdogs.
go.
The Philadelphia Emotional Road. Super
Very
Bowl.
nice. That's what we were waiting for.
Available in books wherever you can buy books.
Exactly.
All right, Mahomes, I'll go 1.
Yeah. I'll go 2.
I'll go 3.
4.
Do I hear
5.
6. I'm going with the shootout here.
Shields out, and
I'm out.
I'm gonna let
I
you
only
have it.
6 left.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, Z-Berm's going to be cleaning up on us, I think.
We'll
He
see.
saved his best. He saved his best for the
You
Super
have
Bowl.
3 right now.
I might save all those bets if I win for Shields picks next year.
No, you got to do it sooner than that.
I got okay.
Okay, so Bo has 8 left. Zach has 7, and Shill's 5, and we have 3 left. Okay.
Ooh.
A Carson Wentz trade happens before the big game.
Ooh. Now,
This was
like
courtesy of the
a
chat.
report of the trade.
Yeah.
Reputable report, yes.
Now, does it have to be like terms, or like the Eagles and Colts have agreed?
agreed.
that the Colts
Agreed.
Are gonna, we don't need to know specific terms yet.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think we would know.
We would
that
probably
would be
would
unusual.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are we
One.
deeming? And what are we deeming like a credible report here?
I mean, Marissa can decide with her. She's got the Philip Merrill journalism degree.
Yeah,
so she can, but I mean,
It's like the definition
yeah,
of pornography. Yeah. So.
yeah, it can't just be some random.
I hope
Whatever.
there's not a lot of pressure this weekend between the cheeseburger and the deciding with the incredible source.
I'll go 1.
I already said 1.
Oh, 2.
3.
Ooh. 4.
Going once.
Last week was a Saturday night. Matthew Stafford. I was out writing a grade very late. Let's see.
I crossed my fingers. It was none of the teams I do pods for.
Is this the one I want? Let's see. There's 3. How many do you have left, Bo?
8.
You have 5.
8, and you just bid 4 on this.
So this could be the last one you could bid.
And
Zach
Zach,
has
what do
7.
you have left?
He's
7.
got 7 left.
7. All right. I'll save it for one of the next 2.
All right.
I have
so-
6 left, right?
You have 5
No, you have
left.
5.
Oh, I do. 3.
So sold for 4
Oh, okay. That's
to Zach.
No,
Yeah.
the bow.
Oh.
I was at 3.
To me, I got it
Yeah,
for
so,
4. Yeah.
Oh.
All right.
Hmm.
2 left.
That's the one I get. One of you is going to get the next one. The other is going to get the other one. Go ahead.
Okay. It's a matter of which is which.
It's up
All
to
right.
Zach, basically, because
Yeah.
he can outbid me.
A non-quarterback completes a pass.
Oh, God.
That's why I knew that one was coming. That was mine. So I didn't go higher on the quarterback, on the
So we got a
touchdown.
touchdown and a pass. All right.
4.
Oh, no.
So that's all that
Is Zach going to bid on this?
he did. He bid 4.
No,
I
Bo
bid
bid
4.
Oh,
Bo bid 4.
I'm gonna wait for the next one. So
All right. Then I will bid. Yeah, because I can't wait for the next one because you can
Right.
outbid me. All right. 5.
All right.
Leaving me with 1 A turkey.
So
No,
this
zero
is for
turkeys.
7.
No,
This
you're
one's
0
7 turkeys
left,
with-
Jill.
0. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so Zach, you did not want to bid for
Oh
that.
man,
No.
the excitement in the Kapadia household when like a handoff goes to whoever, and like they pull back to pass, and then like they pull it down. Oof, that'll be tough.
Was that it has to be a completed pass or attempts a pass? For that?
Says a
Completed.
non-quarterback completes a
Oh,
pass.
Completes.
All right, and
Terrible showing by me.
going with the theme, Jill, again, you forgot that one of yours was not read. So this is the last
Oh,
one.
shoot.
This is one of yours. Going with the non-quarterback theme.
Oh,
A
no.
non-quarterback wins
Wow.
MVP.
Oh, yes. Give me 7.
All right.
I like this. I got the field, right? Other than I got everyone but Brady and Mahomes.
Yeah, Zach is definitely in the best position.
Yeah, he won
Ah,
this. Yeah.
I don't know.
Once he
That
once he
worked
fa-
out, right?
Yeah, we all got 4. So
Um,
Zach has
Well, and
Mahomes.
Bo ends with 4 turkeys.
That's right. I get the tiebreaker.
Oh, so you get the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Zach has Mahomes gets sacked more times than Brady. Shady touches the ball. Patrick Mahomes throws for over 371 yards, and a non-quarterback is MVP. Very
I
strong
think it's
slate.
I think it's 373.
Yeah.
373. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know what it is. Shield has a non-quarterback touchdown pass, a non-quarterback completion. Cheeseburger and or sweet and sour pork is mentioned on a post-game interview by Andy Reid before the conclusion of Monday. And Travis Kelce has at least 10 catches. That one's nice. Got a shot.
This
And
is what
then I
happens
have,
when we do this game an hour, 40 minutes into a podcast.
and then I have at least 4 different Chiefs score a touchdown. Tom Brady does not shake Patrick Mahomes' hand. Tyreek Hill has over 119 yards receiving. And Carson Wentz is traded, or news breaks of a Carson Wentz trade before kickoff. I like my slate, actually. So there you go.
And you got the tiebreaker.
All right. Well, we have been together for far too long here. Does anybody? Shield's picks are already on the record. Zach, do you have a pick? You picked the Chiefs at the start of the season.
Yeah, I'm riding with the Chiefs.
I think the Chiefs win big.
I think it's
Oh.
close. I think it's close. I have but I would take the over here. I'm not sure if I would take the Chiefs, but I would take the over.
No surprise that I'm betting against Brady, but I think the Chiefs win big. Marissa, what do you got?
I'm hoping it's a good game. Like, I really want to see a lot of offense back and forth. But I'm thinking the Chiefs are going to win. I kind of want the Chiefs to win, so I think that's why I'm hoping the Chiefs will win. So
There you go.
I definitely want the Chiefs to win. All right. Well, thank you to Coach Flynn, of course, for joining us. Thanks to all of you who listened or watched and commented on the YouTube live stream. We'll be back at some point next week or maybe sooner if there's an emergency that needs to happen. So for Shield, Zach, Marissa, and Coach Flynn, I'm Bo. Thanks for listening. And as always, we love you.